Today on the show, stuff happens. A power outage, anime bro taku culture, plus a real Japanese lesson from Spenpai. All coming up on today's episode of Anime Binge Club. Hit the theme. Hey, and welcome back to Anime Binge Club, the only podcast that's still being introduced like that. I'm your host, Spencer Crittenden, and coming to you live from Shimmy Dam Kago. Not really. I don't think that's a place. And even if it was, he wouldn't be coming from there as my host, Kevin Motherfucking Goddamn Day.
Wow, what an introduction.
Yeah.
Thank you, Spencer.
Thank you. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm doing really good. I'm looking forward to talking to you about this episode, and I'm pumped.
Pumped, huh? Yeah, I'm pumped too. Yeah, I'm feeling good. This was a good episode. I don't know. I guess I'm trying to think of if we should talk about anything on the top of the show before that. So let's do some. We like to talk tech live on the show. I couldn't hear the audio. The audience could hear that, right? Or could they?
They will when
Right, right.
they hear it
Okay.
next time.
That's
Yes.
there was a time when I was like, I don't think the audience could hear this, and I was like, that is very funny to me. But you will have heard it presumably, and if you're here live, you've heard it a bunch of times. Good, it's fine. But that's Tech Talk Live. Another tech segment that we're going to have to do is I'm going to check the email. I'm going to see if anyone's written us any anime related emails. Um, let's see. Okay. Nope, that's a different question. Okay. I don't know that there's any real anime. Nope. Someone asked if we could put the thing on YouTube, the anime intro on YouTube, but I'm pretty sure I did put it on YouTube and it got taken down because of copyright. So I don't think we could put it on YouTube. But if I can, I'll try to put it up again. And then yeah, I'm the Sixler, I'm pretty sure on YouTube. It's like youtube.com/the Sixler or something. So if you subscribe to me, you'll be able to find it there. But yeah. So yeah, that's not email corner. Send us an email that happens at gmail.com if you want to write an anime email or anything email. Tell me that I pronounced Gendo wrong. Tell me that I pronounced Gendo wrong. Either way. Um, yeah. Okay. Kevin, here's the thing. I don't want to imply that you're not pulling your weight, but we need we need to send you off on missions where you watch single episodes of anime and just give us your hot takes. And in
Okay.
this, I think it's fine if you're like, I don't like this, I'm gonna turn it off. And your report is I turned it off after 3 minutes or something. I think that would be fine. But how would you feel about that?
All right. If you pick the show,
Yes.
I will come back with a review for it.
Right. Okay, great. Okay, so and this is not going to be until our next anime episode. So we got time. But I don't know. Maybe in the chat you guys or the Discord you guys can pitch an episode of an anime that you want Kevin to watch. And if you want to monitor that or not, and in chat, keep yeah. I'm talking to chat now. That's right. It's that kind of podcast. Speaking of which, wouldn't we gotta like the thing is we gotta tell people ahead of time. But I was thinking like, what if we did like set up like a month in advance or a couple weeks where we're just taking calls, and instead of like really doing anything, we're just taking calls, or whatever. We could try that, taking
I'd be up for
calls.
that.
Yeah,
I, I,
we gotta tech it, but
yeah,
we're
no, we
trying,
should
right?
we should do that. Let the audience speak.
Yeah, exactly. And then you can tell Kevin what anime to watch. But yeah, so let's figure out what anime for Kevin to watch. All right. I think that's enough bullshit. Let's get to the anime. So this was episode of 11 of Evangelion, whatever, Evangelion. And boy, howdy. They're kind of hitting their groove, again, like this is kind of like some of the last episodes where, it's just they're kind of I don't want to say they're formulaic, but they're kind of hitting these tropes and you're starting to hit the show's really hitting its stride. It's like, there's stuff happening. Oh, there's the angel and stuff, You got the sports quarter music queued up, Kevin.
No, actually, I don't think I have that queued
Someone
up.
asked what I thought of the Olympics. I did not follow the Olympics. I'm not a fan of the Olympics. Someone pitched that the Olympics should be in Greece. Send the Olympics back to Greece. Fucking everybody likes the Olympics, but fucking this shouldn't be the world's problem. Is like, we're doing the Olympics. Just fucking do them in Greece. The Olympics land. It's Olympics land. You go to Greece, do the Olympics. You leave Greece, you do the Olympics. It's fine. Don't bring it to LA. Just do it to Greece. I don't care. The Olympics is a corrupt organization. It would be nice if it wasn't. I find a hard time engaging in it because of how bad the company is. The same thing with FIFA. I don't follow soccer, but if I did, I wouldn't because the way that some of the fucking soccer is just fucked. And the whole world is. But I don't know. Something about it really burns my craw. So if I was like hanging out with people, I would probably like follow the way they did. But yeah, not into the Olympics so much. I guess Kevin, do you have anything to say about the Olympics, about that break dancer and the misinformation apparently surrounding her?
All right, so I was so fascinated, and believe me, I don't want to make fun of this woman. This isn't me punching down
You don't
at her
have
or
to. Everyone
anything.
else has said basically anything you could say about her on the planet, like monkey typewriter style. I think anything's been said. Like I
Yeah,
think you're in the clear.
I was just so fascinated by that performance as just performance art, not. For those who don't know what we're talking about, you're living under a rock.
Yes.
But for one time, only for this one year, they're doing breakdancing as a competitive sport in the Olympics because France is really big on breakdancing. And because most countries didn't have any kind of like Olympic recognized breakdancing qualification trials or something, for whatever reason in Australia, they used the Ballroom Dancing Association's judges to decide who gets to go be represent Australia for breakdancing. And whether there were shenanigans or not about how this one woman got selected, I don't know. I did watch the YouTube videos of some of the people that she beat in the competitions, and I think the people she beat did a way better job. But anyway,
Hmm.
um, her dance name is Raygun, and she did okay. As close to as negative thing as I'm going to say is that there's kind of that joke of like, hey, in Olympic sports, let just one non-professional compete just so we can see
Hmm.
how much better
Oh
Olympic
yeah,
Olympians
that's like
are.
a viral tweet or something, right?
Right. This is kind of how what I feel like it would have been like. Like I think I could have got up there and done what she did,
Uh-huh.
and it was amazing. I loved every second of it. But then, like on the final day of the Olympics, when she was just goofing around in front of people, not on stage, she did so much of a better job than what she did with the fish flopping around on the floor thing that I really am starting to think that she knew exactly what she was doing and was decided to just become a meme at the Olympics because there was really not that much else going on, other than the
Yeah.
Turkish assassin.
Yeah.
Um,
Right.
that I feel like she knew exactly what she was doing, and if that's the case, I
Hold on. I'm
respect her a
getting a
lot
call. I
for it.
gotta take this. Hold on. Can you Phil?
Yes, I can feel. So yeah, so she did a lot of.
Kevin, you're canceled. You can't
I'm
actually
canceled.
say this about Olympians like this. This is very sexist, and I don't think this is okay.
Okay, well, I knew this day was coming.
Yeah, so I'm sorry, but yeah, I also Wayne Knight says hello. I don't know if that's supposed to mean anything to you, but I don't know why he called me. Sorry,
but,
go ahead.
but that feels like a serious threat. Wayne Knight sends his regards is kind of the death knell in the industry. Um, Yeah, no, I love what she did. I want her to give some clarity on how much of that was on purpose or not.
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, it's like Amanda Knox or something where it's just like people do stuff and then everyone else is like, what the fuck is that person thinking? And you just kind of never know what anyone's thinking, right? It's just like that's the paradox of society, you know?
Yes.
It's great that it's in a lot of times it's a much more dangerous, chaotic context than sanctioned dancing, right? So good to have fun with it on the global stage, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really interesting, and I am really sorry about your Hollywood future now that you've been canceled. But Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that guy that shot the gun, and then they're like, oh, he's like an assassin. And then there was like a lady that had like cool goggles that was shooting the gun too, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah,
What an
like every
Olympics.
other country sent people with all this crazy gear and like uniforms and like eyepieces and ear protection and all this. And
Hmm.
they said he just looks like just some guy's dad shows up
Yeah,
and just
definitely.
literally just like pulls a gun out and pops it off and walks away.
Yeah.
And like
And he's like a hot guy too. He's super like,
right,
damn, like
and like one hand in his pocket, like not even doing like the correct posture or like not doing what
yeah.
any of the other shooters did.
Well, that's the
And
thing
like
is most of the other shoot, you shoot or whatever, but he would always double tap the targets. And a weird thing that he would do is he would wipe his fingerprints off the handle of the gun after he was done. And I was like, what is that?
yeah, no, I think they accidentally sent a Turkish assassin instead of the competitor they intended to send, and I'm totally okay with that.
Well, that's the thing. I mean, he got speaking of getting canceled, he got canceled. Like he got milkshake duck is maybe the more technical term where, it's like, oh, look at this guy. And then it's like, oh, don't look at this guy. You don't want to look at this guy, and because like I think he had like military service or something, which is part of what's like people are saying is like, oh, assassin or whatever. And it's like, don't say he's good. He probably killed a lot of people. And it's like, and then other people are like, well, you have to join the military. And so yeah, I don't like thinking that hard about people. I just like being like, wow, he sure shot a gun and I don't care anymore. But hey.
I mean, I would almost like it if at the Olympics each country just sent their best spies. Like we sent the CIA and Mossad and MI5 and all that. Every country didn't like do under the guise of them being athletes. We just sent our best assassins and had them show off. I
Oh
would
yeah.
love to see that.
Hmm. You know what anime we should watch, make you watch is Spy X Family. It's like an anime show about like the highfalutin world of spies. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, that honestly, it might be the case that our Olympians are spies and they are doing weird shenanigans behind they say Olympians are always fucking and stuff, and it's like, oh, it's all like multi-layered honeypot traps or something. I don't know.
I would totally believe any version of that story.
Yeah, you believe anything. Kevin, famously gullible, folks. I sold him a bridge in Topanga. Folks, this is an anime podcast, but it's a worldwide podcast if you think about it. And aren't all podcasts worldwide? Okay, so let's talk about a summary of the episode. It starts with a bit of the daily life of the main kind of cast, and then pretty quickly we're introduced to a power outage. It's not a good thing. Then an angel shows up, and then, oh no, is the angel going to kill us while there's a power outage? And then they fight the angel, and that's kind of the basic plot summary. I can't even imagine, like, there's not even really any details that are strong, like to really bear mentioning in the summary. But yeah, so what do you think about this episode?
I really like this episode. This to me was like kind of like a back to the action sort of thing where it wasn't, not that I dislike character development, but this wasn't so heavy on let's give this one character 80% of the episode to give exposition about their character. This was basically just everybody doing kind of their established characters well.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody did kind of what I expected to. There weren't a ton of surprises, but at the same time, it would just seem like kind of like a fun action packed ish kind of episode.
Yeah.
There wasn't a lot of action. I guess that's the wrong word, but you know what I mean.
Well, I mean,
There was
dramatic
always
for
something
sure.
happening. Yeah,
Tense. Yeah. Yeah, movement. I think I get what you mean for sure. But I think, yeah, it had interesting stakes. And also just the power loss of it all made it feel like, oh, there's a dilemma. And isn't there always a dilemma? But at the same time, it's like, oh, this is kind of an interesting twist.
exactly. I mean, I guess my big complaint about the series so far, which I realize they have to do or there is no show, is just, every episode, I don't really feel like anyone's in any sense of danger. And this episode, I think, really felt that way.
Yeah.
But we can get to that towards the end. But like, I kind of a recurring theme I keep feeling is that like nobody is in any harm's way. And I'm sure at some point they're going to subvert that expectation and I'm going to be shocked. And, you're going to trying to keep as blank of a face right now as I'm saying this, but um, that's my feeling right now.
Hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, this isn't
Yeah.
Game of Thrones where like the one of the top characters dies in episode 3 or something.
Well, that's the thing. It's so interesting because like anime does kill characters off, but it's not like Game of Thrones or prestige television where like it also depends on the series. Like there's like this subtle kind of variation in tropes in genre space and stuff. Like for instance, there's something called isekai, and that's just like you go to a fantasy world. And isekai generally has different tropes, and that gets into like stakes and stuff. So there's ones that are like the characters are never in danger, you know, and then there's others where that are like Game of Thrones level, but it's kind of interesting. Whereas like I associated that with anime before like television and stuff, where television is maybe more like, oh, no one dies, death of Superman stuff, until kind of HBO shit. But yeah, I agree that like there is this kind of sense, especially some of the comedy elevates that the sense of no danger or no stakes. And again, I feel like they play it. It feels tense, but at the same time, yeah. Anytime there's a thing, it's like I bet a few minutes left, probably it's going to be fine, sort of thing. But yeah, so it starts with these normal life shots of the staff members. You get the long hair guy and Ritsuko, and I don't know, I just like those shots. They're good. Again, anime has a lot of these kind of still life shots, and you see the guy getting like the drink out of the vending machine, and I think he has a guitar on his back or something. He has like one of those tall backpacks like a guitar or something like that, or that's what I remember. And just like, oh, this guy, I was like, is this just a random guy? And I was like, no, I've seen him in his other clothes. He's just out of uniform. And it's like, oh, this guy has a guitar. I don't know. Just really nice color. Really early on, Ritsuko, like she gets laundry and they're like, man, it's nice to get out of the like office and do our own laundry. Or, they're just talking about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little weird that like it seemed like it was just office laundry day where everybody at the same place all decided to do their laundry at the same time. But I understand that setting the a scene and stuff like that. And for the animation right after this too, there's one scene where they're all like on a train, I think, and they're all talking, and there's not a bit of movement at any point except through the windows. You're occasionally seeing a reflection move. Like people aren't moving, the train isn't shaking, nothing. I love the way they did that though, so that it wasn't just a completely still shot. It was, there was movement. It was just the cheapest possible movement they could possibly have done, and it still somehow worked.
I know. And again, I think the physical media makes it look so much better than like the Flash animation version. I think like something about it just works better. But yeah, and like that's interesting. I didn't actually clock that so early, but I clocked maybe around like 9 or 10 minutes or something where it's like, oh, almost every shot is what I've been like calling a money saving shot, where it's like, and then it's interesting because to me, I can't tell like how it works because it looks like in terms of economy, they would rather do a bunch of quick cuts with nothing or very little moving than like even a relatively small move. And it's like, man, it's like that relatively small move feels like it's like 10 drawings. And then you did like 7 shots instead. Isn't 7 shots going to be about 10 drawings plus, And so I'm always curious about that because it looks like they do a bunch of, especially towards, I mean, basically the whole scene, like every time every time the kids were like traveling, like every shot was just like cut, 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 cut. And it was just static, and so yeah, I think they're saving tons of money in this episode, but again, it looks really nice, especially in the beginning. I think it's a bit slowed down, so it's less economic until you get to the train. But yeah,
it reminds me a lot too of like in the old days when I did video game stuff where we would reuse the same textures and just change the palette so they'd be a different color. I mean, the example everyone thinks of is like Mortal Kombat, where it was the same character, just a different color.
Of course.
But they went way beyond that though too. Like in Super Mario Brothers, the cloud and the bush are the exact same thing. They're just different colored versions of the exact same object. And until somebody point that out, you never realize it. And I'm noticing a lot of the same things in this too, where like the background from one scene, one episode is like a slightly recolored, differently shaded version of the same background in another. I think they're just recoloring things. That's a genius way of doing it.
Or even they might be using a translucent shell or sheet to gel sheet. Jesus Christ, can't talk. To change the lighting treatment. But so yeah, again, like it's really interesting. I from a craft perspective, I just like picking it apart. But in terms of the video game, like back then, it seems like with the low bits and stuff, it was so much more important to be like, oh, we don't have a need another like bush sprite. We're saving a whole sprite, you know? So like even more so like on something like a video game back then. But they start talking about the city council and the city administration, and they set up that Tokyo 3 again. This is a city of the future. It came after the second impact and stuff, and it's in the hands of the Magi computers. Apparently the city council is essentially a charade, because the Magi computers, which have been referenced before, I think they've said Balthazar and Melchior and maybe another name that I can't quite remember, are the names of the supercomputers, and now they say the Magi supercomputers are three supercomputers, and they work democratically. How they work is they basically each come to a deliberation, and then they vote, and two, majority rules or whatever, and then they send their recommendation, whatever. And so we've now understanding that, we know that whenever they've been talking about the Magi computers and Melchior and whatever, that's how they've been operating. So sometimes they ask like, what are our chances? And they're like, they say this. And so that means like they had an argument and we're like, well, we said this, and that's how it works. But also we're learning that they tell the city council how to run the city, so the government is run by the computers, which is trippy and honestly seems kind of ominous, but it brings up this question because they bring it up like, it's the city of the future. It's ruled by science. We're governed by science. Like what a world, and I don't know. I think at least as an audience, to me, it hit me as really sinister. The idea that like the government was fake, but the characters felt like, not like that. Like one of the guys was like, wow, that's weird that tech is controlling our life, but isn't like, wait, the government's fake, he's just like interesting. And the other person's like, I think Ritsuko is like, yeah, fine, or knows it, but it's not set up like, oh no, the government's fake. They're just like, yeah, the government's fake, but then Mia's like, Jesus Christ. But yeah, so what was your take there?
Yeah, I mean, I had that same kind of like, oh, why are you guys liking this? But I kind of felt like maybe I'm looking at this through the lens of today, where we have AI that is suddenly in our face, and we're seeing all of the negative side effects of it. Where when this was created, I think they had a lot more of an optimistic view of what that would be like than we do right now. So that may have something to do with it, but I also kind of felt too that they were just way more into that idea than I think I would have been at the time.
Yeah. Yeah. And so so that was my visceral reaction. But then I kind of had like a more conscious reaction where something that I believe is that it does suck that the way we have to govern is by arguing, and whoever wins the argument gets to do it, because science exists, and science doesn't exist by argument. Science exists by testing, But of course, the fact is science does still exist by argument, because there's a consensus of the greater scientific community, isn't there? And, even if you say we're going to be a country ruled by science, then you're going to argue over how we ruled a country by science, aren't we? So at the same time, like, but in some countries, and I always forget which countries they are, they've set up special economic regions where they can pass laws for economic tests, or they can basically test policy without having to vote on it. Because again, that's how our system works. You vote on policy, you don't test it. But wouldn't it be nice to test fucking policy instead of arguing about fucking policy? It doesn't make any fucking sense to argue about it. You test it and see what works. Then there's no argument. You know what worked. But in America, you can't have unequal laws. So you can't test a law on one group of person. That's unconstitutional. And so like, you need some sort of amendment, or I don't know. And I'm not even proposing we need to do this in America, but it just straightforwardly is obvious that arguing about how to do something instead of testing how best to do it really seems like a problem. And so like, yeah, I'm in favor of ruling by science, but yeah, I don't know how to do it. You still have to argue the idea, because it's like, yeah, that's why we're uncomfortable, right? Is the AI. It's not an AI. It's someone programmed it. And we know all the people who programmed it are probably fucking assholes, So it's like, what? Did they program it like Elon Musk, where it's like, oh, Elon Musk's wins every calculation, I think that's where the visceral kind of discomfort comes, right?
No, exactly. Like what I had hoped they had meant by that is by having three of them was that they were three entirely separately designed systems that three political parties or whatever all had a hand in creation and stuff like that. But I think the reality of that is just that that would never work the way we would hope it would.
Right.
You know?
Yeah. I think the best way you could do it is have a special economic region where you test policy and then you basically disallow most evidence into political argumentation about legislation, except for fucking policy tests like that. Because if people are being like, oh, but what about this? It's like, no, fucking let's just test it or not. Shut the fuck up. Anyway, I don't know why I was lighting a fire under my ass, but it is. But I will say, very minor spoilers. The way the computers work is, yeah, they're not set up by different countries or whatever, or entities. Basically, each computer is like kind of modeled more on someone's personality data or something like that. So it's kind of like, oh, you have this personality and that and that. So you're kind of covering different bases is the idea. They get into that more later. I don't think that's like severe spoilers to say. But so just interesting. Again, like I like delving into the tech of this. And so yeah, so they talk about that. Basically, the next beat is they test the unit 0, and they say that the unit 0 test is going wrong, and then shortly after the power goes out. And I think it's really funny. I thought it was really funny where Retsuko was like, it wasn't me. Like, because it's like, yeah, of course, we were doing
Yes.
tests and then the power goes out. And it's like, but also you're genuinely not necessarily thinking it in the moment, the way it's paced. You're like, yeah, of course it wasn't. But it's like, yeah, she would feel the need to be like, I'm the science person in charge and I didn't fuck up in this instance. You know, it's like, it's really funny to see her character come through there. Did you think it was very funny? Because I thought it was maybe the funniest moment of this episode.
Yeah, no, I did. And especially from her perspective, because like, she can't see that it's affected the entire city. She's just seeing her room go dark.
Yeah,
And,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
I could totally feel that way,
Right. Yeah. And also it's like Shinji's call goes dead, so all this stuff's happening and she's like, fuck, did I do? No, I didn't do this. And it's like, also maybe she thinks she did do it or has to deny it. She's like, wait, did something, I don't know. It's just very funny. And so yeah, and so then at this point when the power goes out, Glasses guy, and I think in like when you so Glasses guy is the thing that translations have a lot of times. Like there's a character with glasses in an anime and you will see the subs say like, hey, Glasses guy, and so this is your real Spenpai Japanese lesson. Hey kids, did you know the Japanese word for glasses guy is megane or something? I don't know, gotta go. So presumably if they're saying Glasses guy in an anime, and the reason why I think of people as Glasses guy is because they often get tagged in anime as Megane, I believe, if I'm getting that right. But he's getting fucking, so Ritsuko gets her own laundry and he gets Misato's laundry. She makes him get her laundry, which I thought that was really funny too, which is like it's like kind of, skim over it. But, yeah, the kids can't get in, they can't swipe their card. I thought it was super funny that they all swipe their card without looking and they're like, you're doing it wrong. And it's like the fucking power is out. Like, what do you, it's so funny. They all do it in a row. Yeah, let's see. And yeah. Oh, so this is like, I don't know. This is stupid. This is my note says to go on a rant, but and now I don't feel like it because my note, I don't like being told what to do by my note. Analyze that, bitch. But the thing about the machines is they're swiping it and they're like, this is like a thing that happens and it's always happens. But it's like one of them swipes it. Oh, you're doing it wrong. One of them swipes it. Oh, you're doing it wrong. Swipes it. It's wrong. And this thing that happens where people are always like, and this happens all the time if you've been a cashier or been a customer or whatever, where like the computer goes wrong and either you get mad at the person because you feel like they fucked it up, or maybe they did fuck it up or whatever, but it's like the computer is doing something wrong and you're getting mad, or not, you're getting mad. They're getting flustered and they're being like, oh, I'm so sorry this is taking so long. Like you feel the need to apologize for your computer having a problem, and like, it's the problem is an expectation mismatch where the assumption, and have I ranted? Whatever. The assumption is a machine is supposed to work and a human is supposed to be inconsistent and weird and made of flesh and bleed and stuff. And like, I get the logic of that because of how we perceive machines as cool and, unthinking and stuff. But like, That's not, those are wrong. Like, that's the opposite. Like, really, it's the opposite. How it works is that any machine is a wind up toy. And all a wind up toy does is like go and fall over at the slightest obstacle. Like the slightest kind of bump in a crack in the carpet knocks a wind up toy to. It's not like this unstoppable machine that waltzes forward in the face of rocks and rubble. It is like a tiny baby that gets, and then a human is supposed to pick it back up and put it back on the thing. And so that's the opposite of the expectation. A computer is not supposed to get this math problem wrong. It does the math correctly. But no, a human tells it to do the math, and if it gets it wrong, a human fixes it over and over and over infinity times until it works well enough to market, and then it breaks constantly until you fix it manually, because now the person with the cashier, they fix it. And again, it's just a human fixes a machine that breaks. And a machine does break. And conversely, when a human breaks, a human heals. That's the thing. People think, oh, a machine's not supposed to break. It's supposed to fix itself. A machine does not fix itself. A human heals itself. And like, that's the thing. Like, even when you think of like, oh, why do I have to reset the router? It's like, it's because it doesn't heal. It doesn't heal like you're imagining. Like, it's not healing its router sense. You reset it. And like, it's just this really weird thing. I like, this again, it's my little rant. I don't go this in depth with it, but anytime a cashier feels like the need to apologize and I feel like enough of a connection to go off on that little rant, I'll be like, it's funny. Sometimes people get mad at you and for the machine not working, but the way I see it is the machines are all, and it's just a fun little thing. So that's why it's in my note. Good job, the note. I'm glad you bossed me around. And so, yeah, the power goes out. Also, it's interesting. I don't know. I'm sure this is just me reading too far into it, but I'm wondering, so they set up that maybe it was a hack and they don't really establish what happened, but like they say like, oh, this must be sabotage or something about it where we're at in the plot kind of summary. And so then that made me thinking, I wonder if like the test going wrong, because it was off by the slightest smidge. And I'm like, I wonder if it going wrong was like part of like a hack job or something that was like part of what did you have that thought? I realize that's probably not like what they're trying to convey, but
I wasn't sure what they're trying to convey because
right, yeah.
I figured, these two things had to be related in some way, whether they were going to explain it in this episode or not. I didn't know, but there was no way that, this is kind of like Chekhov's gun kind of thing. They weren't going to suggest a hack at the exact same time a test was happening, at the exact same time a blackout happens, and that not all be connected in some way.
Right.
So I assumed there was, even if there was no payoff on that.
Yeah, that's the thing, is there's not really a payoff. So, but yeah, they're saying that there's sabotage, and then they detect an angel. It's not clear to me when Nerve detects the angel, because Nerve's cut off. I think when they detect an angel, what we're seeing is JASDF, which is Japanese like Air Special Defense Force or something like that. And that's like the Japanese military. And so we see them, which they're not hacked or they're not powered down. I don't know, and they're like, we can't get a hold of Nerve right now. And like an angel's coming. And so then eventually that information gets there. But like, I think first it's the JA that figures it out.
And I like the fact that their first response was not, oh, there must be something wrong. It was like the guy says something like, oh, what are those guys up to? They're not answering the phone or something. Their first reaction was incompetence, not something horrible happening.
Well, I didn't even think of confidence. I think it's just this is how they do things. They're all secretive and they're not talking and they're being fucking assholes, which I think like there is this kind of vibe on the world stage where it's like you guys are fucking around with these toys and you're not understanding real manly robots. It's like everyone is kind of like pushing Japan around in that sense, the military is probably like, why are they getting our fucking like plane money, We're flying around dropping bombs. And then the angel shows up. It's this big, like four-limbed water strider kind of spider kind of design. A lot of Pokemon that are inspired by water striders look a lot like this and other kind of like anime monster designs. What do you think of that? Like, I don't think it takes us a while before you see it has like these eyes, but what do you think of the actual like full design in terms of like angels?
It was definitely, I think, my favorite looking one so far because it was very different. But there's a scene a little bit later when Ashtra opens the door and you see its eyes just like go past the opening, where like for one, I thought for sure something was going to happen because of that. But
Hmm.
I just love the way that it looked alien, but also somehow Earth-ish at the same time. Where the
Yeah.
other ones all just seemed kind of these weird, uh, sort of biological, sort of not things. Where this thing just seemed like I could totally see it being the spider creature thing.
Yeah, and also I don't think most of the angels had eyes like that. Like I think that honestly it doesn't look exactly alike. Like I don't think you're supposed to be like, "Oh, they're the same eyes." But the eye design actually to me resembled a little bit what the Ava's eyes looked like when it grew, kind of regenerated the eye in that one scene.
Yeah,
But
it
I
reminded me a
don't
lot of that.
yeah, so I thought that was kind of interesting, but also it's like this is the first angel that like has like eyes that I remember. Maybe there's some other angels, but a lot of them have a mask situation, and like this one actually has real eyes. And then the eyes fucking later on they cry. They cry like acid, which is like really cool. But yeah, no, on the scene you were talking about, the eye, like it crawls by and we see it, and it's like, oh, it looks like it's maybe clocking Asuka, but it doesn't react to her or anything, so if it sees her, we don't know why. But it just reminds me, this is so stupid, but in Magic there's these big monsters that are called Eldrazi, and they're basically like um Cthulhu. They're like world-ending eldritch abominations. And I have this one card that's like a mountain, and it's like a mountain, and way in the distance is one of those Eldrazi Titans. And it's so big that it's like huge on the card, but it's like supposed to be really far away and really big. It's like probably bigger than like Mount Everest or something. And it's like kind of facing towards the camera or whatever. And it's just like, I was just like imagining, like, imagine you see that and you're like, wow, that's twice the size of Mount Everest, and I'm seeing it. And then imagine it looking at you, it's starting to move towards you, and just feel like, how can even a thing that big like see me? Just like I don't know. I can't imagine like the pants shitting horror of attracting the attention of anything that large on in any context. Like it's just, but just and that kind of inspired a little bit of that in me. Just like imagine if a fucking giant eye spider walks by you and is like, I've never seen anything like that. And then it's like, wait, it's made of eyes. Is it looking at you? Just like awful, awful stuff. Just disgusting. Uh, any more before I move on?
Um, no, so I don't remember exactly where this was. So if I'm skipping ahead, I'm sorry. But like
It's all good.
at one point, Shenji makes some comment of I forget his exact words, but he's something like, I don't understand this. Why are they angels? Aren't they supposed to be from heaven? Aren't they supposed to be helping us? It's like
Hmm.
almost he was given this vibe of kind of like, are we the bad guys? That
Right.
kind of thing, which I kind of have to admit was thinking the same thing throughout this, up to the series, up to this point.
I don't remember that. The only thing that I remember that's similar to that is at the end when Ray says something like about how man like makes light. Like Shinji at the end is like, I wonder if that's why they're attacking us. It's like they hate that we're putting out light or something. Is kind of that's how. So I don't know if that's what we were talking about or a different part that I remember, but interesting stuff. It's a good anime, I'll tell you that much. But so Asuka wants to be in charge when they're lost, and this reminds me, I was hiking one time with my friends when we were like kids or teens or whatever, and it started getting dark and we're kind of lost, and it was like a bummer because different people were trying to be in charge, and it just reminded me a lot of that situation. I felt very Ray, and I've been in other situations where I'm kind of like Ray in that situation where I'm just like everyone's arguing about what to do, and I'm like actually figuring out what to do, and then I'm just kind of doing it more or less, when she pulls out the instructions. And so like Asuka's import, like she's like, oh, I want to be in charge, and Ray doesn't care. She's just doing what needs to be done. And so I really like that. Did you feel like you identified with any of those characters? Are you more of a Ray?
Yes, I think I definitely am. Here, I'm
Yeah.
just pasting to you. I thought I had the wording wrong. I just pasted to you exactly what he was saying, I guess, at that point. But
Hmm.
um,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
no,
That's
I
cool.
feel a lot of sympathy with Ray throughout this entire episode, which I haven't really felt up to this point. Like I felt bad for her before, but like in this episode,
You
I
don't
really felt
identify with her.
right. In this one, I kind of did of her of just like, let's just get this done. You two are ridiculous. Let's,
Yeah.
can we please just focus? And no one's listening to her, and she just is like, okay, whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. So then they were back in like the control room or whatever. They say that the air is getting stale, and they also have candles, and it's like I mean, you're burning the air. And then I'm like, why don't they have like little batteries? They don't have like little batteries. And I guess everything's on backup power or something. But it's like you'd think they'd have like flashlights or something even back then. But it's interesting that they didn't necessarily conceive of flashlight battery solutions as viable. And so it's like candles. But also, it is good to have like real analog tools, fucking fire. And later they have axes that they use to disconnect the Evas.
Yes.
It's fucking awesome. Let's see. Um, yeah. Jesus Christ. So they see the fucking glasses guy. The glasses guy at some point he teams up with like a truck to kind of get back home. And then they see him. Did you see that shot? They're like in this kind of narrow corridor of pipes and shit. And then you see this sparkle move across the screen. And that's supposed to be Huga fucking in the car, like announcing as he's driving. But it's just this sparkle playing across a bunch of pipes. And the scene sets it up like the guys are like watching the sparkle move across the screen as if it's Huga. But it's like, what is the geometry that they're looking up and seeing some distant road that Huga's driving on through these pipes? Like, to me, that was so unclear. It was almost like the background panel was wrong or something. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I do, and I just chalked that up to me not understanding what was going on. Because
Yeah.
there's quite a few scenes where I just like I obviously don't know, either this is referencing some trope I don't get, or this is something that's going to make sense on like a second or third walkthrough.
Mhm.
So that's kind of how I felt like this was going to pay out.
Yeah. So in terms of tropes, I mean, the only trope is like, I think it's more of a trope in Japan that you have these trucks that do public announcements. Like, I think cops might do that stuff in America. If anything, if that's the trope, like on the news or in the movie, it's like it would be the cops. But forever, they just have these weird sign trucks. You see them a lot in anime. But other than that, it's like, to me, it looks like they're standing, they're looking. If the background was what I'm thinking, the background should be they're like in this cavernous space where there's a high road way off in the distance, and they can see Huga driving along that road. And that's how everything's blocked and how it's all set up. But it just happens that the background panel they're looking at is just a fucking tunnel. And it has a ceiling. And so there's no way they can be looking through the ceiling to see Huga. And like, unless we're to believe somehow they're seeing through the pipes or something, and there just is some back road that has literally no visual representation in the background panel, which is again why I'm like, is the fucking background wrong? Because maybe they just used a different background. Because again, in terms of stuff, backgrounds are one of the things that costs money. It's easier to animate simple flat characters on the same backgrounds or punch in on a background or something than it is to do whole ones. So it could be the case that if they were out of money, they just didn't have the ability to make the background they needed and just use the closest one they thought might fit or something. I don't know. Like, but it was very, very, very confusing as an audience. And let us know in the whatever if you have an idea about that, huh? I should go on the fucking like, I get Eva Reddit posts now, so I should go on the Eva Reddit and ask what the fucking deal with that is. Um, but yeah, I don't know. But so yeah, like you said, Asuka sees the angel, and they do it because they're going to they're following Asuka in that moment. She's like, go where I go, and they shouldn't have done that. They shouldn't listen to her. And then so back at the base, they're firing up the diesel generators. They're going to manually launch the Eva, even though they don't have the pilots. And it's funny because it's like, well, why did you wait so long? Like, you guys have just been sitting there not doing that. And what changed your mind? Like, why did you start like that? It seems like it's very labor intensive and it would always have to be done. So why don't you just start doing that now? I don't know. But did you have any thoughts there?
No, I mean, again, I don't remember if this was in this scene or a little bit later, but when the kids do come in and
It's a bit before
she's
that.
like saying,
But go
okay,
ahead. No. Talk about it. Talk about it. It's fine.
When she says to Shenji, like, yeah, your dad knew you were coming. I
Yeah.
didn't believe that. I felt like he had some other plan.
Yeah.
That like
Yeah.
there was some other way that he could have piloted it or something that was going to get revealed, and the kids showing up was just a very, very good bit of timing, because I don't think there's any way they would have gone to all that trouble when they had absolutely no reason to think the kids were showing up.
I agree. I think I didn't really question it too much. Where I was like, oh, is that, are we supposed to read that verbatim? Is it supposed to be earnest? Like, is that actually the idea? And the thing is, like, to the extent that you're not shitting on Gendo, I think his character is, um, wow, he sure is mean to Shinji. And then it's holy shit, like this is a bad problem. What's Gendo doing? And then it's Gendo is just in action. Like it seems like he spurs the plan. He doesn't even talk about it too much. He just starts doing what needs to be done. And it's like, oh yeah, Gendo, he doesn't talk that much, but maybe this is what he does. He thinks about the problem kind of like we see Ray doing, and he just takes action. And so he's going down the ladder. He's manually doing the stuff himself, and it's just we like with Katsuragi, we just haven't seen him in a position to really be the solution before, like the kind of episode where he's stepping into action, like her episode where she's stepping into action. And so I thought that was kind of interesting. It kind of reframed the conversation with Shinji, whereas like in the beginning where he's like, Dad, you got a parent teacher conference or whatever. And he's like, what the fuck are you talking about, kid? Like, that's not my job, And it's like, you get the sense that is like, I mean, he is really busy and important or something, and he is making time for his son, and his son is just wasting his time. You kind of see his side of it a little bit. And to me on this, where it's like, man, his internal world is always like a blackout and always solving problems or something that we're not seeing because he's just not on screen very much. So I thought it was kind of humanizing a little bit for him. But so I was kind of like, yeah, maybe he did trust it. But based on what you were saying, I was like, probably like Occam's razor is he did trust that Ray would get there in time. Like I could totally believe that he didn't think it was going to be Shinji but Ray, and maybe even Asuka, but I think that because Ray did get there in time, and I would believe is he's like, yeah, this is what I come to expect from Ray. But also I do think that there might be some sort of failsafe or whatever. And then also, like I'm saying, I think like you just need to do it even if the kids are never going to come, so it's like you just start doing that. And so there's some level where it's maybe he just thought that, right? But yeah. Last words before I move.
No, no, keep going.
Awesome.
I'm fully in agreement there.
Awesome. Thanks, man. I love podcasting. So in this sequence, Asuka is trying to troll Ray a little bit. Like Ray's in charge now, and so Asuka's trying to like unseat her, rattle her, kind of troll her a bit. Ray said, like, she's like, "Oh, you get special treatment." And Ray's like, "I don't get special treatment." Or something like that. And I took that I thought that was so fucking dark. I don't know why it's dark, but she's like, I don't get special treatment. It's like, what does that mean? Like, is someone like punching you or something? Like what kind of, because she seems like she does get special treatment, but I don't know. I don't know how to interpret that yet. But then because she doesn't rattle Ray, she kind of drops back and starts like working on Shinji, being like, hey, this Ray character, she sure is like weird, huh? We can't trust her. And that's so classic Ray, that's just how she rolls. But also I've been listening to podcasts and stuff. I've been learning about the brain in very dangerous, unhealthy, unhinged ways. But in the past podcasts I've listened to, I learned about a behavior called triangulation. And what manipulative, abusive, controlling, narcissistic people do is engage in triangulation, which is when they're not getting their way with one person, they seek to create a triangular dynamic using another person to then attack that person from a different vector. And so Ray or Asuka wants control and she doesn't have it. So first she demands control and she doesn't get it. And then Ray has control. So she's trying to take control from Ray by rattling her, using, I guess I could say, immature emotional like destabilizations, attempts at dysregulation, right? Emotional destabilizations. And that doesn't work. So failing that, she starts triangulating. She starts working on Shinji, thinking if I get Shinji on my side, then maybe I can be in charge again. It doesn't really go anywhere, but to me, it feels like it's very in her character, how we've seen so far, her insecurity and stuff. And I really like that it's like, it's all like all this stuff feels really smart and deep. I don't know, but it's also very tropey. And then they fall into a vent into the hangar. They're magically in the right place. It's a lot of fun. And it's more of this kind of comedy trope. And it's funny because like they all fall, they're arguing, and then Ray like lands really neatly on 2 feet, and I think Ritsuko says something, but like so very shortly after it, like Gendo just his head pops up and he's like, "Get him into the robot" or something, And I thought that was really comedic too. That was like one of the funnier moments. Did you think that was funny?
Yeah, did you watch Firefly?
No. Well, I
Okay.
kind of saw a
She
couple episodes, or
she
unless that was
reminded
the
me of
movie.
River Tam in
Hmm.
Firefly, the way she just like, everyone else is falling on the floor not knowing what they're doing, and then she's this graceful waif that just lands on her feet and
Yeah.
is ready for action and all this. Like, totally reminded me of Firefly right there.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, no, I really, really like that. That's to me kind of like an iconic scene so far in this series.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of tropey, although they mess with that trope in a lot of anime. Sometimes, like, there's an escalation of people landing on the people. So, like, someone lands on the butt and someone lands on the back and someone lands on the face or
Mhm.
something, So it's like boom, 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 where it's like two people tumble and then three people land neatly. But, that kind of juxtaposition is a lot of fun. Um, let's see. So yeah. Yeah, so like I was saying, I think the Gendo is portrayed as trying really hard and earnest in a way we haven't really seen. But I was like wondering, like, oh, is he trusting in his son? But then it's like, no, they're prepping all three Avas at the same time. It's not like he thought about one to do. And then they have these extra battery pack things, and yeah, so it's cool. This is the first time all three Avas are in action, isn't it? Were they in action like this in the last one?
I don't think so. No.
Yeah, to me, this felt like the first time they were like all together. Maybe there was one more, but I think like the only other thing was like Asuka and Shinji were together. I think was the last time they really did multiple kind of shit, like robot combat. I don't know. Um,
And this was definitely the first time the three of them were all working together.
Yeah. And so then they were climbing up this vent, and like that reminded me in high school. We had these bleachers, like or these kind of like moving bleachers indoors that would go forward and back. And when they were fully deployed, there would be this narrow lane behind the bleachers that would go all the way down to the floor to the ceiling. And you can like wedge yourself between the bleachers and the ceiling and kind of shimmy your way all the way up this like 20-foot bleachers, which when you're a kid, it's like, wow, I can climb 20 feet off the ground, and climb over. So we would do that all the time. And it just reminded me of that. A lot of fun. But yeah, so the angel fucking is crying acid into the whole like burning through stuff. And I think like they kind of say like, oh, it's using corrosive acid or something. And then you start to think like, oh, it's interesting. If you think about this as like an enemy force, they're kind of testing the weaknesses like Jurassic Park style, um, where it's like, oh, we'll send this one robotish thing, and then we'll send this other robotish thing, and then we'll send this sniper laser robot that snipes lasers, and then now we'll send this new thing that's super tough and impenetrable, and it's going to drill. And now this something is more maneuverable, but it spits acid. It's like kind of an upgrade of the drilling strategy or something, So it's kind of like they're doing different things. And again, we didn't understand before they're penetrating the geofront, but now we understand that's kind of their objective or something. So yeah, this one's trying to in a different way.
And is this the kind of like the first reveal too that the angels know where the Evas are being launched from? Because I thought before, not only were they getting moved around and stuff like that too, that they were trying to keep it kind of a secret as to how all these things shot out of the ground. And this thing knew exactly where to perch itself to spit right down it. So that to me seemed really surprising as like that they didn't seem to take as that big of a deal, but it was like, how did it know right where to go?
Yeah, I think you're right. I think if you think about it, the way they sortie the Evas, they have those tracks, right, that are deep underground, and the tracks split. So you can actually send the robots all over the city, right? So yeah, they wouldn't necessarily know where you're sending it, but you remember the D8 angel in that episode, the second they wouldn't have known where he came up, right? But the second he's up, they already are firing the shot. They know where he's gonna pop up. So like there is an extent to in that episode is like the first sense we get that they actually might have a sense of where they're appearing. And so yeah, and then like later, then it's like the drill, I think comes after that, right? So then they're like, no, now they're actually gaining. We're not giving you the chance to sort it even. Now we're getting to you first. And now we know what tunnel you're coming up, even before, like before you even launch. It is like we're trying to attack the source. So, like, yeah, they're kind of gaining ground, so to speak. They're getting farther and farther, um, you know, closer and closer to winning. Did you have anything else that I didn't cover? I feel like I went on a whole tear. I don't know if I actually responded to what you were saying.
No,
Oh,
that,
we
that
love
that
the
that's exactly
podcast.
it.
Okay.
I it's giving a sense kind of that like humanity is losing a little bit. Even though
Mhm.
we're winning the battles, we're kind of losing the war if they're advancing this quickly and are, you know, always one step ahead, it seems like. This doesn't
Yeah.
seem like it's going well.
And speaking of advancing quickly, in the beginning of the episode, they're all getting laundry done. And it's like, it's possible that they've been on fucking overclock hours for a bunch of incidents in a row. And that's why this is like the first breath that they can actually have time to go home and do laundry. So it might be that, like, yeah, this is the first little and fucking like they've been on the clock and now it's like now we're finally getting to relax and it's like no they're back already and now we're in a power outage just like fuck. So yeah, I think it is kind of like we're losing ground, they're getting better, and they've blown up a couple stuff. We've had to nuke some of they had to redraw the maps, like that's a loss. So yeah, I think like here again, Asuka's been shitty this episode, or not shitty, whatever. I use very inexact diction, and I don't specify, which is not good, especially for a writer. But Asuka acts very childish and ineffective most of the time in this episode. But once she's in battle, she is kind of going Ray mode. She isn't brash. She just is calmly thinking about battle strategies and kind of calmly the same way Ray explained like what the instructions said. She says, here's what we're going to do. And I really like I was talking about it in the last episode or whatever, where like they don't Asuka did get screwed in that fight and have to get saved by Shinji. But like even with that, like we're clocked. I feel like it comes across really clear that like Asuka's fucking a badass. Like she's awesome at combat. Like she's so dangerous and powerful, and I think like within seconds she knew exactly what to do. And like I mean, Ray would have had a plan or something, but not probably a good one. And like Shinji, who knows what he would have done and if he would have even thought of anything, but within probably it feels like less than 30 seconds of seeing the angel and taking cover or something. I guess there's a time cut, so you can imagine maybe it's been a couple minutes. But either way, like she just really puts together and has the perfect plan. And it's like it works and it works perfectly because like she is right. She actually understands how to fight angels, and yeah, I just so I love seeing that side of her too. Sorry, going off on a tear there. You got anything on Asuka here?
No, I mean, he was really annoying early on and then kind of pulls it together towards the end. Although I kind of feel like maybe she should have listened to everybody else throughout all of this and made everyone's life a lot easier. But again, she's being herself.
Exactly. That's the thing is that like you find the characters and you're like, God fucking damn it. But at the same time, it is kind of fun when they're being like their little asshole selves or whatever. In that when she's talking, you get those hologram on-screen comms again on the windshields and stuff, which is again, it just looks so fucking cool every time. And when she actually goes for it, she like shouts something in German, like she shouts like a battle cry in German or something, which is fun. Characterization. Did you translate it or did you just get the German?
Um, so the dub was in German,
Right.
and there was no subtitle at all for
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So
So
I don't know what she was actually saying, but yeah, she says something in German. And yeah, so this whole fucking episode's been money saving shots, like I've been saying, really quick shots to conserve motion. Yeah, there's a lot of minimalism, a lot of just what they would try to do is it's like, can we cut to a still face, please, and only make the face talk, and that's the only movement in the shot, please, and then here's the action is like there's fucking three robots doing a bunch of crazy shit, and it's not insane. It's not the most like luscious like visual we've seen in the series so far, but it's still fucking sweet. It looks like it's just all happens. It's great and it works and they win. And then yeah, I don't know. It wraps up pretty quick, right? Um, we don't know exactly what happened with the power. It's nighttime. They're kind of watching a sunset or whatever, and the power comes back on in the city. Um, and then, like a subplot that's been happening. Misato and Kaji have been in the elevator this whole time, but nothing, it doesn't really go anywhere. But they like land in a heap right as the elevator opens up and everyone sees them. And it's this trope. It's this like compromising position. It's not on purpose. Oh, ho, ho. And this one's a little more sporting because they're both the victims of that joke. It's not like, haha, I didn't do a crime. It's more like, ah, ha, ha. So like, but it still is that kind of trope. But yeah. So then Ray, yeah, at the end of the episode, Ray says like, mankind creates lights to light up the darkness. And then Shinji's something like are you it's maybe that's why the angels are attacking us, which is like, I mean, okay, kid, like whatever. Like it sounded like Ray was being really fucking deep, and Shinji's like, I should be deep too. And like he doesn't do a good job, you know? But yeah,
Yeah, just
that's the episode. Go ahead.
he says something like, is that why the angels keep attacking us? And the subtitle of my version of it has her saying, "What are you, stupid kid?" Which is, a little harsher than I think it. I mean, maybe that's what it should have said. I don't know, but like for her to have said that was a lot.
Yeah, I wonder what the actual translation is. It's like, yeah, because stupid is like a lot of times that's baka, and baka like can be translated a lot of different ways. But I think maybe the most pure is fool. So it's like don't be foolish, but don't be foolish. Like in American slogan, you wouldn't say don't be foolish. You'd say don't be stupid. But like I think it has slightly different context where it's like it's maybe a little more gentle than don't be stupid, because like that's so chummy of Ray to say, right? Don't be a fucking dipshit, right? Like Ray wouldn't say that. And so it's like I think it wouldn't
Yeah,
have that kind of like stank on it the same way we hear it. But yeah, so that is episode 11. Man, what an episode. I did not research One Piece, so none of that. It's time for anime brotaku culture. Is that what I said? Yeah, it's the time
yeah,
of the
sure.
world, the segment where we talk about culture around the world. Oh boy. What cultures did we want to talk about? The Olympics. We covered that, I guess. Um, I don't know. Did I feel like I wanted to talk about something? I got a timeshare property. Okay. There's this thing called Command Fest, you guys. It's a magic convention, magic event. They're putting on different ones, and they did one in LA. It was a lot of fun. It was in like this convention meeting space or something of a hotel, one of those big, like, not a ballroom, but those kind of like rooms for event, like multi-purpose rooms. And yeah, there's a lot of people playing Magic and Commander, and there's like vendor booths and stuff. And it was a lot of fun. Is Atsuko the femme version of Akira? I don't know that. I don't know if Atsuko and Akira, they don't, to me, they don't sound like they would be versions of each other. Like, because Akira, the thing about Akira, there's a lot of weird, and I'm not, also, just to be clear, I'm not an expert. Assume anything I'm saying is wrong. Like, because I'm just saying what I think, but I'm not trying to make it sound like this is what the truth is. But, like a weird thing about some Japanese names, if they have other words in them, and like that's how Japanese like wordplay and puns work. And so it's kind of common for someone to say like, oh, my name's Yuki, then you mean snow because I'm pure like the driven snow or something. Yeah, Atsuko, bright or intelligent. um yeah, they don't look like they have very common. But I don't fucking know. I don't fucking know. But this make Kevin's chat GPT lookup doesn't seem promising. And you know how real that is going to be. Fact checked. But to me, Akira is interesting because Kira is a loan word. So never mind. Fucking, this is what I mean is I don't know what the fuck I'm talking about. Back to Magic. So they had a bunch of weird like magic events. And so the first one I did was a battle pod with my friend Yusong, and we just like played with two other people in a commander 4-player game, and it was fun. And then later I did another event which was called a chaos sealed draft or something, where we got two commander packs to make and then we drafted three packs, all random packs. And so then we got to make a commander deck out of those, and then we played a 4-player game, and it was awesome. I made like a dragon sapperling token deck, and I made 40 sapperling tokens in my deck. And in the draft, I pulled the One Ring, which is like an expensive card. So like it was, I got like maybe one of the best, most expensive cards I've ever opened at this event, and it was a lot of fun. And then I did something that was called a full set draft, which is where, well, it's full set sealed rather, where you make a deck out of 40 cards, but what you get to make a deck out of is a full set. So when they make cards, they make a set of cards, and then they print multiple copies of the cards and put them into booster packs and sell you the booster packs. And then you can sell those cards, you know? So you could buy the cards online separately, or you could buy them in booster packs, but usually you can't buy a full set, one copy of each card. But this is one copy of each card in a full set, and it's just in a box. And you have one copy of each card, even the rarest cards in the set. And so they handed out a random set to every person in the tournament, and you just got to make a deck. And so I got it was Phyrexian All Will Be One, I think. It wasn't March of the Machine, I'm pretty sure. It was All Will Be One. And so I got all of All Will Be One, and I made a red-green deck, and I beat a guy, and then I had to come home and do the podcast. Otherwise, I was going to be late. But I might have won the next match, and even the next match. I could have gone 3-0, and I didn't because I did a podcast instead, which is the real undefeated, if you think about it. And Magic's a lot of fun. Kevin, I got to teach you how to play Magic one of these days. Magic's so fucking fun. I just got to do Magic. I don't know. Like, I feel like if I'm doing stuff, it's going to be like D&D stuff or Magic stuff, or just like, I don't know, Hollywood stuff. I don't know. But like Magic stuff seems more. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
If I came out to LA for a few days, can you give me a crash course enough in playing Magic that would get me to at least playable point within some reasonable amount of time?
I'll tell you this. I could do it live on a podcast without you having to fly here.
Okay. Even better.
Yeah, I mean, if you fly out here, yeah, I'd love to host you and play some Magic. That'd be great. Yeah. Oh boy, what a great podcast. Oh boy, and we're under time, aren't we? Can we leave early? Is that allowed?
Yeah, you can do whatever you want.
Get in trouble? Is someone gonna get mad at us?
No.
Are you my boss? I don't actually understand how any of this works.
I don't either, but if you wanted to end the show right now, I could push the button and make that happen.
I don't want to be fired, though. That happens. I don't know the name of the podcast. Let's look at my own other podcasts. How do I definitely run out of things to talk about, but it happens in a different way than this. Okay.
2 minutes is a hard amount of time to fill, to be fair. Problem. You know, because it's not enough to really get into something new.
It's just long enough to say, let's play D&D and then not play D&D, isn't it? If you think about it, it's just that exact amount of time. Now I understand. This is the thing is now that I have a podcast like this, you really understand the problem that the D&D segment had for the actual like flow of show. You know, it's just a really hard problem to solve. There's a problem where I was like, I should just spin this off and do it as its own thing. And then it doesn't like take up the show time. And I never did it. And it was a big mistake and is probably one of my life's biggest regrets other than not going to Hollywood.
Here we go. We had exactly enough time to play this song. All right.
Okay. Do we just let it happen and we just let this do the job instead of us talking?
I have no idea. I'm just going to let you just go with whatever happens for the next minute, however many seconds.
Right. Well, I had the idea for a podcast called Get Lunch. It's just called Get Lunch. What do you think? And then you'd be like, hey, it's time to get lunch. This is Get Lunch, the podcast of Get Lunch. And I don't think you'd actually get lunch. I think the podcast is about having the kind of conversations with someone that end in the sentence, we should get lunch or something. You know, you ever meet with someone and you have a conversation and you're like, hey, well, let's get lunch. You know, it's like maybe one of those. I don't know. I got lunch with Matthew Mercer. Should I talk about that?
I don't think you did, no. You've mentioned him, but I don't think you mentioned you went to lunch with him.
Yeah. I like this music.
I do too. I should listen to you really just read the phone book over this music at this point.
Yeah. The best thing about summer is getting to do all your favorite indoor things outside, like sharing meals and accidentally falling asleep on the sofa. Article's curated collection of outdoor furniture is here to help you do all your favorite things this summer. Use the promo code Goblin Flakes. All right, good night, folks. I'm sorry that the ending sucked. All right. Hey, kids, it's time for another anime lesson with Spenpai. On today's anime lesson, did you know most characters of one of the three languages are just a single syllable? Goodbye.